So let's talk about something that is on absolutely everyone's mind. Are AI agents really about to take our jobs? We hear the hype all the time, but what actually happens when you take these super advanced AIs out of the lab and throw them into the real world?
I mean, look at this. This is the kind of quote that gets your attention, right? The CEO of a major AI company, Anthropic, says 90% of coding could be automated in months. That paints a picture of a massive, super fast takeover where AIs aren't just helping us, they're replacing us. And that really is the million-dollar question. It's one thing for an AI to be amazing at a puzzle or a specific, isolated test, but it is a whole different ballgame to handle the messy, complicated, back-and-forth reality of an actual paid job.
Well, to cut through all that speculation, some researchers decided it was time for a proper reality check. They said, okay, enough with the theory, let's see what happens when we make an AI agent apply for and try to complete real freelance work.
And this is what they came up with, the Remote Labor Index, or RLI. It was created by Scale AI and the Center for AI Safety, and its goal was simple but honestly brilliant. They wanted to measure how well AI can actually automate economically valuable work. The kind of stuff people get paid real money to do every single day.
And you have to appreciate how rigorous this test was. This wasn't some dumbed-down simulation. We're talking about 240 real projects across 23 different fields, everything from graphic design to software development. The AIs got the exact same project briefs and the same files as any human freelancer, and they were competing for a piece of a prize pool worth almost $144,000. Okay, so the stage is set. The most advanced AIs on the planet were let loose on real-world jobs. You'd think they would make a pretty serious dent in that $144,000 pot of work, right? Well, the results, they were not what the hype would have you believe. This chart right here just says it all. On the left, you've got this massive bar representing all the available work, almost $144,000. And then on the right, that tiny, tiny little sliver. That's what the best AI agent managed to complete and get paid for. The difference is just staggering. Let's just put a hard number on it. Less than 3%. That's it. When it was faced with real, complex, end-to-end projects, the very best AI agent can only successfully automate less than 3% of the available work.
And look, we're not talking about some obscure, unknown models here. They tested the heavy hitters: Google's Gemini, OpenAI's ChatGPT, Anthropic's Claude, and xAI's Grok. What's kind of interesting is that the top performer was actually an agent called Manus from a smaller Chinese startup. But even the best of the best was nowhere near human-level performance.
Dan Hendricks, who's one of the key people behind this whole study, really put it perfectly. He said the entire point of this index is to ground the conversation in actual data, to give all of us a much more accurate, honest picture of where AI capabilities really are right now.
So we know AI agents are struggling, but the big question now is why? What's the real difference between solving a math problem and, say, finishing a whole graphic design project for a client? Turns out the answer is all about the gap between simple tasks and complex jobs.
This comparison really gets to the heart of it. AIs have become incredible at these narrow, specific things, like pure coding or math problems. But real jobs aren't like that, are they? Real jobs force you to string those skills together. You have to use different software tools, manage tasks with lots of steps, and, this is the big one, learn as you go. And that is exactly where this generation of AIs just falls apart.
If we dig a little deeper, we find these really fundamental limitations. Unlike you or me, these AI agents don't have long-term memory to remember what they did on a past project. They can't continuously learn from experience, and they can't just pick up a new skill if the job requires it. For them, every single project is like starting from scratch, and that's just a massive handicap.
So where does all this leave us? We started with this crazy hype about mass job automation, and we've landed on the cold, hard reality of a sub 3% success rate. How in the world do we reconcile those two things?
Well, the key takeaway here is nuance. This study shows that the idea of AIs fully replacing us in our jobs, that's probably still a long, long way off. But, and this is a huge but, that does not mean AI is a failure or that it isn't having a massive impact. Not at all. And you really don't have to look far to see that impact. I mean, this quote from an Amazon SVP says it all. Even if AI isn't taking jobs wholesale, it is fundamentally changing how companies work and innovate. It's a transformation on the scale of the internet itself.
Which really brings us to this final thought. Maybe,
just maybe, we've been asking the wrong question this whole time. Because based on this new evidence, the future might not be about AI as a replacement for the worker, but as the most powerful new tool that worker has ever had.